Hello guys, welcome back to the Renegade Dyspraxic YouTube channel. In today's video I would like to talk to you on the subject of overwhelm. But before I do so, if you haven't seen the previous video, it's only about 12 seconds long, I recommend you might want to go back and watch that. Essentially, when recording this video, I made a bit of a, I suppose what they call blooper moment. I'm not going to say what it was, I'll let you go back and watch it. But I found it rather comical myself. Anyhow, in today's video, as I was saying, we're going to be talking on the subject of overwhelm. Do you find yourself getting easily overwhelmed? Perhaps when you're asked to do more than, say, 3 different things in, a very short period of time, your mind just shuts down. You find it really hard to, organise yourself because you don't quite know which direction to go in. And your thoughts become even more scattered, and you just essentially end up closing in on yourself because what's going on around you and all the stuff you've got to do is just too much. Well, I know this is certainly the case for myself, and as other fellow Dyspraxics I've spoken to have also said that they tend to feel overwhelmed very easily, more so than the typical non-Dyspraxic individual. I should also mention as well that overwhelm doesn't also mean, that for ourselves that we tend to have our minds running around too fast, but we also tend to take on too much or commit ourselves to too much too quickly. To give you an example, when I was in school, quite often many of my school reports would say that Alex should learn to walk before he can run. Not literally, unless you go back to the very earliest years, I suppose, of my school reports. But I mean, I was, had quite an inquisitive mind. My mind was all over the place, naturally inquisitive, wanting to learn as much as I can. And obviously, when I was taught, for example, physics was one of my main passions, as when I was in school. And when I wanted to, talk to the, just physics teacher about whether it was possible to travel faster than the speed of light, he was more interested in, myself coming back down and focusing on, springs and, other, typical high school experiments that you were doing physics. So, the point is, I was regularly told I could, tended to overwhelm myself, push myself too fast, too forwards. And usually I would tend to, so we say, crash in the end mentally, going within myself, because when I felt myself being pulled in too many different directions, the natural instinct, I suppose, is for many people, is to go in within themselves, shut down, and just try and, I suppose, what the ostriches would do, bury your head in the sand. Well, if this is the case, and it certainly is for me, I'd like to share with you guys some techniques which I have, so we say, deployed in my life, which has really helped me reduce the levels of overwhelm which I tend to experience. The first thing I would like to recommend you do is, well, it sounds quite a bit odd, but ask yourself smaller questions. Exactly what do I mean by that? Well, in life we tend to in our heads, we're always asking ourselves various questions in our inner monologue that we have. For example, questions can be things like, how am I going to, pay my rent this month? Or did I leave a good impression on my, boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever it is in your case? Or did I, speak to my friend well enough? Or you get the picture. We're always constantly, thinking questions, about life. And oftentimes, I suppose, with myself and fellow Dyspraxics, the questions we ask ourselves can be a bit too big. For example, can I possibly, get all my friends to come round this evening for a meal? And also, can I possibly finish that report this evening as well? And how am I going to possibly also help my friend out this evening? You see, we're asking ourselves too many questions on how we can get things done within a short period of time. As such, we'll find ourselves naturally falling into a state of overwhelm. If that's the case, I would recommend asking yourself smaller questions. A smaller question would be a question like, okay, can I perhaps, phone up 5 friends of mine and see if they would like to come round for a meal this evening? rather than see, can I phone up all my friends? Or perhaps a better question might be, just trying to think, something how the mind always goes blank when you're asked to do a question on the spot. Anyway, another question, small question you could ask yourself is, for example, okay, can I possibly write out another 2 paragraphs or so of my report, rather than, can I get the whole report done by this evening? You get a gist anyway. Asking yourself smaller questions, in other words, or again, like I said in a few videos beforehand, in regards to taking smaller actions. If you ask yourself smaller questions, you'll find in the process that you're not going to get so easily overwhelmed, because the amount you could say, biting off to chew is not as big as, would be if you were to ask yourself big questions. Also, another thing I find that helps myself from feeling overwhelmed is actually doing some form of meditation. Meditation doesn't necessarily mean, as many people get the idea of, which is to sit cross-legged in the middle of a room, humming to yourself and trying to obliterate any thought from entering your mind. That's not at all what meditation is. Instead, meditation, the type I do anyway, is a form known as mindfulness. And the idea of mindfulness is you're simply accepting life as it is. So in a sense, you're kind of stepping back and just letting things be. And this can also include stepping back from your thoughts, letting your thoughts flood through your mind, and just be a witness to your thoughts, rather than trying to interact with your thoughts. If that sounds a bit complicated, there's many good material out there on the subject of mindfulness, and I might even do a video in the future on mindfulness, because it has many benefits for those of us with dyspraxia. So yes, I say mindfulness is certainly another way, or meditation of some sort, to help calm your mind down and hence feeling less overwhelmed. A final way I'd like to mention also is going back to good old to-do lists. You've probably been told many times in the past the importance of having a to-do list, having a list of things which you can, cross off, one at a time. Ideally, each thing being a small thing, and as you cross it off as you go along, you get, throughout the day, you get a nice sense of a feeling of accomplishment as you're, crossing things off. And the beauty of it is, towards the end of the day, you get to look back and see all the things that you've done and see how much ground you've actually covered. And it, I find, gives my day a lot more value in the process. To-do lists doesn't have to be a complicated process. It just literally means all you're doing is just, thinking, for example, if you had a to-do list for a day, a to-do list might be, okay, get ready for work in the morning. If you wanted to break that down further, you could do further bullet points on, for example, brush my teeth, have breakfast, get dressed. But to be honest, who's going to walk out of the house and forget to bring their trousers with them? So, you get the picture. Break things down into a to-do list, and, basically, have a list of all the things fixed on paper that you want to do for the day or need to get done. And also I find that when you're writing this to-do list out, you begin to also see how realistic is it that, when it's on paper, how realistic is it that you can actually do all those things. For example, there's no way that I, or even anyone else, even non-dyspraxics, would be able to sit down and write a 200-page novel, say, also, do 100 jigsaw puzzles within a day. That's just physically impossible, unless well, I was going to say unless you're Superman or something, but even he, I think, would be struggling with trying to accomplish that much within such a short period of time. So when you're writing things down on paper, it gives you a bit more of a perspective over how accomplishable is what I'm trying to do. Is it actually realistic that I can get what I want to get done within this period of time? So personally, I say, if you have to-do lists, also if you keep remember to ask yourself small questions like what small thing can I do today to improve the situation in XYZ. Could be what regarding your report, what small thing can I do to if you're doing a report, that is, I should say, what small thing can I do today to contribute further towards the report? Perhaps it could be anything from writing just a couple hundred more words to perhaps even just in a few paragraphs. all the way to, you know, writing up at 2 sides on A4. And likewise, if you're doing something like, you know, booking a meal for your friends, you know, small questions would be like, you know, can I ask, you know, contact 5 of my friends and see if they're available to come on out or come over to mine for a meal, for example. You get a picture, hopefully. If you don't, and if I'm, of course, with my verbal dyspraxia is messing things up as always, and you're finding it a bit difficult to comprehend what I'm trying to say, please do feel free to, you know, leave a question in the comment section below. Also, as a final one, we're saying summary. We mentioned small steps or small questions, and we also mentioned obviously the importance of having to-do lists. The other thing which we summarised also was, or will summarise, is you know, undertaking some form of meditation, which, you know, people have known for thousands of years has very beneficial benefits, not only for a calmer mind, but also can lead to a calmer life. So yeah, that's really what I'd like to talk about. You know, hopefully these techniques mentioned will help you feel, you know, not so overwhelmed in your life. It seems that with dyspraxia, we are far more prone to feeling overwhelmed than most non-dyspraxics. Maybe that's partly due to the fact that we have trouble at times sequencing or organising our thoughts or our actions out. So yeah, that's the gist of today's video, and of course, as I mentioned before, any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to give this video the thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel for upcoming videos. Till then, all the best and take care.